Welcome to Live Interactive English. My name is Winnie.
And I'm Matt.
And today we are starting day 1 of our article named Jane Eyre. And speaking of Jane Eyre, you know, it's a classic piece of text, and everyone kind of has to read certain required reading in high school or even middle school sometimes. So were you ever required to read any of these books?
I was never required to read this book, Jane Eyre, but we had other books we had to read. Like, I remember reading Lord of the Flies.
Oh.
That was a story I actually found very interesting and I quite liked it.
Yeah.
And I'd actually read it before. They even had it in required reading, so it made it a lot easier to
understand.
To keep up with my homework.
Right. So when you say you read it earlier, like 10th grade?
I think in like 5th grade when I was in elementary school.
Wow. Okay, that's very surprising. But for my school, we were required to read some Ernest Hemingway. We read a book called Sun Also Rises, and that I remember was a book that actually kind of started to change my point of view on life and certain things. So I would say sometimes you see these books and you read them, and you might think, oh, required reading is kind of boring. And then you kind of read it and it surprises you. Yeah.
Well, some of the interesting parts are actually the writing itself and how the authors use different things in their writing to make it more interesting. And as a student, you can learn from that about how to make your own writing more interesting.
Right. Well, I'm excited to get today's article started. Jane Eyre, day 1.
Jane Eyre grew up in the harsh and unloving home of her aunt, Mrs. Reed, where she was mistreated. At the age of 10, Jane was sent to a strict boarding school with poor conditions. Yet, despite these hardships, Jane received an education and grew into a strong, principled young woman. When she was 18, Jane found work as a governess at Thornfield Hall. There, she taught Adele, a cheerful French girl who was the ward of the mysterious master of the house, Mr. Edward Rochester.
All right, let's get today's article started. Jane Eyre, day 1.
Okay, let's begin. Jane Eyre grew up in the harsh and unloving home of her aunt, Mrs. Reed, where she was mistreated. At the age of 10, Jane was sent to a strict boarding school with poor conditions.
Oh no.
All right, so we already have our main character of the story, and of course is the title character of the story, meaning her name is the title. So Jane Eyre is our protagonist or our main character. So she had to go through some harsh things as a child. So harsh is an adjective, which means unkind, cruel, or just very rough to deal with, not easy to go through. It can also mean severe, like if someone is punishing someone, they give them a harsh punishment. It means that they got the worst punishment they could get. They weren't easy on them at all. So an example sentence, his father gave him a harsh punishment for breaking the window.
Yikes. Okay, this Mrs. Reed does not sound very nice. Continuing on with the article, yet despite these hardships, Jane received an education and grew into a strong, principled young woman. And of course, when we use the word principled, that means someone with a lot of strong morals. They know what is right, what is wrong. And that, I would say, is very surprising considering anyone to live and be very principled, that's already very good. But to grow up in an environment where that isn't very likely to happen, that's very heartwarming.
Yes, that's right. So it's good to see that despite growing up that way, she has still grown into a principled young woman. All right, now let's go to Hanny.
Hello， 大家好，我是 Hanny。这次要读的故事是经典名作 Jane Eyre 简爱。故事女主角 Jane Eyre 自幼父母双亡，被托付给冷漠的舅母抚养。那个家严苛又缺乏关爱，她在那里受到虐待。那10岁的时候，她被送到一间条件恶劣的严格寄宿学校， 尽管经历了这些苦难，那她接受教育，成为一个坚强、有原则的年轻女性。文中用到 principled， 用来形容有原则的、有操守的。那么单字 harsh， 它是形容严厉的、刻薄的。而 Matt 老师在讲到女主角时，他用到 protagonist， 我们来拼一下 protagonist。protagonist 可以用来表达故事或是戏剧当中的主要人物或主角。那我们接回课文中。
All right, welcome back. So Jane has just grown into a strong, principled young woman, so let's see what she does now. When she was 18, Jane found work as a governess at Thornfield Hall. There, she taught Adele, a cheerful French girl who was the ward of the mysterious master of the house, Mr. Edward Rochester.
Ooh, okay, it sounds like Mr. Edward Rochester. He sounds like a big boss. I wouldn't want to mess with him. We have this word cheerful, and of course, to be cheerful or something is cheerful means something that's happy and full of good feelings. Some people, they just have a cheerful energy about them. They walk in and you're like, wow, they're in a good mood. So for example, you could say the children sang cheerful songs during the school concert.
Okay, so we also said that Mr. Rochester, he's a mysterious man. So mysterious means very difficult or even impossible to know or to understand. So it's very difficult to get to know things about Mr. Rochester or to know what he's like as a person. So an example sentence, my new coworker is very mysterious and never talks to me.
Right, so this person is full of mystery. There's so much unknown. So hopefully we will get to know a little bit more about Mr. Rochester. Let's go to Hanny first.
Jane Eyre 18岁的时候，在桑菲尔德庄园找到一份家庭教师的工作。那她在庄园里面教导一个开朗的法国女孩 Adele。那这个女孩是庄园神秘主人 Edward Rochester 先生的被监护人。我们来看看单字 cheerful， 它是形容开朗的、兴高采烈的，或是令人愉快的。Mysterious 则是形容神秘的、难以理解的。那文中用到 governess， 在这边是指女家庭教师，还有 ward， 它是指被监护人，尤其是指儿童。那我们接着回到课文中。
All right, thank you, Hanny. We have already been introduced to some very interesting characters. Some good, some not so good. Some we don't really know yet because they're very mysterious. But I'm excited to get into it.
Right, so we've got more to learn in the second part of this story, and we'll be right back for that.
Jane's first encounter with Rochester came one evening on a dark walk. His horse had fallen, and she helped him. She spoke to him as an equal without knowing he was her employer. Although he wasn't traditionally handsome, something about him caught Jane's attention. He was moody and troubled, but he treated Jane differently. He spoke to her as an intelligent person whose opinions mattered. As the months passed, Jane and Rochester spent many evenings talking by the fire. Even though the two had different social positions, they developed a deep friendship that slowly grew into love. During this period, strange events occurred at Thornfield, and Jane sensed Rochester was hiding something important.
Welcome back. So before the break, we were reading about Jane Eyre, who is our main character of the story, and she's already grown into a strong, principled woman. We also met two other characters, Adele, a girl that Jane is teaching, and also Mr. Edward Rochester, and he is the owner of the house where she's going to be staying. And yeah, we know that he's very mysterious, so I guess Jane knows very little about him.
Yes. All right. Well, let's get it started. Jane's first encounter with Rochester came one evening on a dark walk. His horse had fallen, and she helped him. Ooh, okay. I'm getting romance vibes.
Well, that might be happening.
Anyway, so she encountered Mr. Rochester, and to encounter someone or something just means to meet someone or something. Sometimes it's by accident or it's in a surprise meeting. So for example, you could say, I had a strange encounter with my old classmate this morning. So in this case, they saw their classmate, but it wasn't their usual kind of, hey, how you doing? So maybe their classmate was acting a little strange. So Jane, she finally gets her meet cute. She finally sees Mr. Rochester.
All right, well, let's continue with the story. She spoke to him as an equal without knowing he was her employer.
Ooh.
So when she helped him with the horse, she actually didn't know that she was helping her boss, her employer. She was just
doing a good deed.
Doing it as a nice person. Although he wasn't traditionally handsome, something about him caught Jane's attention. All right, well, at least, she likes him in some way, I guess, even though she's not traditionally handsome, which would usually mean that someone, is just, everyone would say that they're a good-looking, handsome person, but if someone's not traditionally handsome, it maybe means some people think they're handsome, but
beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
That's right. Well, I guess we'll find out if it's in Jane Eyre's eye.
Yeah, if that beauty, yeah.
All right, well, let's go to Hanny now.
Jane 和庄园神秘主人 Edward Rochester 的第一次相遇是在某一个傍晚散步的时候，那他的马摔倒了 ，Jane 帮助他，而在不知道对方是雇主的情况下。Jane 把他视为平等的人来跟他交谈，虽然这个人不是传统定义上的帅，但是呢，他身上某些特质吸引了 Jane 的注意。听到这里 ，Winnie 老师有感觉到这两个人之间的浪漫氛围。老师用到 vibe 这个字 ，V-I-B-E，vibe 可以表达气氛、情境，还有提到这个 meet cute， 它是指浪漫喜剧中主角之间的美丽邂逅。好，那么课文单字 encounter。这个名词它可以表达偶遇、邂逅或者是遭遇的意思。那我们接着回到课文中。
All right, thanks, Hanny. So she just helped out her employer without knowing she was helping her employer, and now she likes something about him.
Yeah, well, hopefully in his point of view, he gives her a sweet bonus, end of the year, some money, because, wow, he's like, I hired someone kind of nice. All right, let's continue on with the article. He was moody and troubled, and by he, we're talking about Mr. Rochester, but he treated Jane differently. He spoke to her as an intelligent person whose opinions mattered. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're probably thinking, well, of course she's human, but at that time, women were seen as kind of less than. And a lot of men, especially wealthy men, they're not going to just talk to any woman, especially if she's kind of out stomping around. She doesn't look like a rich woman either. Yeah.
All right, well, he talked to her as if she's an intelligent person. So someone is intelligent, it means they are very able to know and to learn and to solve problems. So in other words, they're very smart, we might say. So an intelligent person is just someone who has great abilities to learn and to use their knowledge.
Right.
All right, so an example sentence, pigs are actually very intelligent animals.
I've heard this. I've also heard octopuses. Octopi?
You can say both are acceptable, I think.
Well, they're both smart.
All right. Okay, back to our story. As the months passed, Jane and Rochester spent many evenings talking by the fire.
Oh, so cute.
So cute. Okay.
Anyway, even though the two had different social positions, they developed a deep friendship that slowly grew into love. Just like we were talking about just now, they're not of the same level, Mr. Rochester, he's got money, so he shouldn't be hanging out with people that don't have money at that time period. But friendship blooms in mysterious ways.
Okay, continuing on. During this period, strange events occurred at Thornfield, and Jane sensed Rochester was hiding something important.
I knew it. I hate him now. I hate him. He did something.
He did something. Maybe. We don't know
okay,
that.
Okay, I'll give him a shot.
Anyway, so at Thornfield, where they are living, there's strange things happening, and the mysterious Mr. Rochester is even more mysterious now.
This isn't a ghost story, is it?
I don't know.
Oh no. Well, let's go to Hanny and see.
刚刚讲到 Jane 和庄园主人第一次的相遇，那么 Winnie 老师开玩笑说，希望这个相遇至少可以让庄园主人在年底帮 Jane 加个奖金。老师用到 bonus B-O-N-U-S 这个字就表示奖金、红利或者是额外的好处。那故事提到 Edward Rochester 这个人阴晴不定又心事重重，但是他对待 Jane 和其他人不同，他把他当做一个聪明、意见重要的人来交谈。而几个月下来，他们常常在炉火旁边交谈，度过了许多夜晚。尽管两个人的社会地位不同，却建立了深厚的友谊，还慢慢发展成爱情。那在此期间，庄园里面也发生一些怪事，让 Jane 感觉到 Edward Rochester 似乎隐藏着某个重要的秘密。好，来看单字 intelligent， 它就是形容聪明的、有智慧的。那这边还有两个重点。第一个重点是动词 spend， 它表示花费，那么三态是 spend, spent, spent。主动的话，我们是要用人当主词，所以这个句型是 somebody spend 加上时间、精力或金钱，加上 on 加名词，或者是也可以把后面改成动词 ing。好，举例来说 ，He spent the whole day reading comic books。他看了一整天的漫画，或是 He has spent a lot of money on comic books。他花了很多钱买漫画书。第二个重点是 even though， 它表示虽然尽管，是 though although 的强调说法，后面要接子句，用来引导肯定的状况或是已发生的事实。例如 She cooked for her family even though she was tired。虽然很累，但她还是为家人做饭。比较一个用法是 even if， 它是表达就算即使，是 if 的强调说法，用来引导条件或是假设的情况，表示无论情况是否成立，都不影响结果。好，所以举例来说，像刚刚的例句，如果说 She will cook for her family even if she's tired， 就算很累，她还是会为家人做饭。那我们接着回课文中。
All right, thank you, Hanny. Consider me titillated. I am very excited to see what else is in the story. I like Mr. Rochester. He seems like a good guy, but now he started off mysterious, and now he's back to being mysterious after winning our girl over. Jane was like, I like you, but now I don't know.
Well, there's some strange things happening, but we're going to have to wait until tomorrow to find out what's going on. So we will see you then.
Bye-bye.
Jane Eyre grew up in the harsh and unloving home of her aunt, Mrs. Reed, where she was mistreated. At the age of 10, Jane was sent to a strict boarding school with poor conditions. Yet, despite these hardships, Jane received an education and grew into a strong, principled young woman. When she was 18, Jane found work as a governess at Thornfield Hall. There, she taught Adele, a cheerful French girl who was the ward of the mysterious master of the house, Mr. Edward Rochester. Jane's first encounter with Rochester came one evening on a dark walk. His horse had fallen, and she helped him. She spoke to him as an equal without knowing he was her employer. Although he wasn't traditionally handsome, something about him caught Jane's attention. He was moody and troubled, but he treated Jane differently. He spoke to her as an intelligent person whose opinions mattered. As the months passed, Jane and Rochester spent many evenings talking by the fire. Even though the two had different social positions, they developed a deep friendship that slowly grew into love. During this period, strange events occurred at Thornfield, and Jane sensed Rochester was hiding something important.
最后，我们来复习今天课文里的单字文法。单字的部分有 harsh 是形容词，形容严厉的、刻薄的。cheerful 是形容开朗的、兴高采烈的、令人愉快的。mysterious 它是形容神秘的、难以理解的。encounter 这个名词表示偶遇、邂逅或者是遭遇。Intelligent 是形容聪明的、有智慧的。文法的部分，我们第一个学到动词 spend， 它表示花费。主动的话是要以人为主词，所以句型会是 somebody spent 加上时间、金钱或精力，加上 on 加名词，或者是加上动词 ing。好，那第二个重点学到 even though 表示虽然尽管，是 though although 的强调说法，之后接子句，用来引导肯定的状况或者是已发生的事实。好，那以上是今天的讲解，同学别走开，马上回来哦。
A folk museum is a kind of a museum that collects, preserves, and displays objects, traditions, and practices related to the everyday life, culture, and heritage of ordinary people. Today's location is a great opportunity to have a glimpse of how people lived in the past, the Taiwan Folk Museum. Taiwan Folk Museum is a southern Fujian-style structure that looks very different from the high-rise buildings all around. The museum looks like the homes of rich families during the late Qing Dynasty and early Republic of China, giving visitors a chance to understand the lifestyle of that era. The park covers an area of 1.6 hectares and opened on March 1st, 1990. The Folk Customs Hall has many old objects, including a red bridal bed, a dresser, and a wooden chair. Taiwan Folk Museum is a siheyuan, or courtyard house, with over 2,000 items that were used in daily life. The Folk Arts Hall has a swallow-tailed roof and saddle-shaped gable walls. The circular door on the side of the Folk Arts Hall leads to a garden overlooking a pond, corridors, and arched doors. This is in the style of Suzhou Gardens, which are famous around the world. The folk arts area offers activities such as lively folk art performances, craft-making shows, traditional children's games, and folk drama. Crafts and traditional foods are also sold in the folk arts area. The park also displays a retired train engine that once carried coal from the Reisan coal mine. Visiting the Taiwan Folk Museum is a true blast from the past. It's a great way to go back in time and appreciate the way people lived back in the day.